and we find the Indian plate coming in and converging with the Eurasian plate. So the red plate is colliding with the green plate, which is why we have those two red arrows there. So I'm going to go look at one place in particular where there's a little bit of convergence in Pakistan, but a little bit of that transform fault situation I mentioned beforehand, where the plates are kind of being forced to slide by each other as the Indian sub kind of comes plowing into, kind of essentially penetrating into the Eurasian landmass. And of course, a outcome often of plate collision or transform faults is earthquakes. And so where we have transform faults in the United States, over there on the western coast, there in Northern America, we find a transform fault, but also there in Pakistan. So there's two different earthquakes, one that occurred in the United States in San Francisco in 1989, and another one that occurred in 2005 in Pakistan. Essentially, they're the same Richter scale. What that means is the earthquake was the same magnitude, it was the same strength, but nonetheless you had massive differences in terms of the casualties. Pakistan, 73,000 casualties, and in San Francisco, only 93. So what are some reasons for that? First off, San Francisco, United States, higher levels of development, so a very developed country, so we have higher levels of technology, more affluence, and so we have buildings, essentially they have springs on the bases of them in which they're designed to shake a little bit so that if an earthquake happens, they're not going to collapse on each other. In Pakistan, there's a large amount of the population that's rural, a large amount of the population that's poor, and so what we also have a lot of people living in earthen buildings in which the buildings are actually mud, hardened mud and rock, and essentially the earth materials combined can conglomerate to make shelter, and so that's not so much earthquake proof. That's, we're not talking about, steel reinforced concrete and rebarb and all that good stuff. And so that's one reason why is this levels of development in building technology. Also on top of that, Pakistan has more of a mountainous terrain, so you have a lot of landslides, and those are landslides that are triggered from an earthquake, then of course bury people alive, but also cut off transportation networks, and so it can't get to the people, emergency response can't get to the people that need it. But another one was actually cultural. And so when did the Pakistan earthquake occur? It occurred early in the morning during Ramadan. And so here, Pakistan, a Muslim country, and what they do is during Ramadan, they fast. And so essentially what that means is they don't eat during daylight hours. And so if you can't eat, if your religion says you don't eat during daylight hours, when are you going to eat? Well, you're going to eat as soon as that sun goes down and right before that sun goes up. What happens when you stuff yourself with food, i.e. Thanksgiving? You get sleepy. And so it's very common for people to take a post-breakfast nap, as was the case for this earthquake, in which people were sleeping when it occurred, and so they might not have been alerted. They might not, if they had a phone, they might not have had, been paying attention. Essentially, they didn't have time to get out because they were fast asleep. And so, very much when you think about death tolls, there's development for sure. There's technology and all of that, but also some cultural characteristics that were kind of interesting there. So, just wanted to emphasize how you can have same magnitude earthquakes, same kind of situation, but much different devastation.